What's up, everybody? It's Patel, and I'm back with another podcast episode. And today we have a very special guest, Mr. Anaya Patel. She's here to talk about some college sports with me. So thank you for being on the podcast, Anaya.
You're welcome. It's good to be here.
All right, so let's get into it. You want to start us off? So what do you think is going to happen, post-COVID with NCAA?
I mean, it's going to be really interesting because with college athletes, they're coming from all over the country, all over the world, in fact, some of them. It's going to be interesting about how everybody has to deal with making sure everyone takes the correct precautions before coming in to play. And then when you're traveling to play other teams, it's just increasing contact with more people.
Yeah, yeah, that's going to be interesting how they do that with the testing and everything. So I'm actually really interested in the financial burden that losing some of these will cost, because losing March Madness has costed the NCAA around $395 million, and that's causing other like schools to cut sporting programs. Like App State yesterday cut 3 programs, and I think if they lose college football, which they say could cost them up to $4 billion, is going to be huge to college sports in general.
Yeah, for sure. I think that even more colleges will have to end up getting rid of some sports like App State has, just because of there's no revenue coming in. There's the college in general is losing money because there's no one on campus. They're losing money coming in that way. And it's just really crazy about how everyone is just having to deal with the fact that life has stopped and sports have stopped, and bringing it back up from where it is, it's something that never has been done before. So everyone is trying to go through the fact of what do they do now, and are they making the right decision or not. So I think college football will be very key into seeing this next year of sports and how everyone is going to come back. And I hope that everything goes. I hope that college football is able to run and do everything well. But at this rate, the way that everything's going in this country, I'm not really sure about that.
Yeah, the SEC is supposed to be able, like schools should be able to practice starting June 8th, but then that's just the SEC, so we don't know how the rest of the country is going to act about it. I'm just amazed because now imagine not having a college football season, no college basketball. What are we watching? Are we watching like college golf or college tennis? I feel like we have to find a new outlet in college sports.
I definitely feel like if college football doesn't end up happening, we will end up watching whatever sports we can.
Yeah.
It'll be whatever can be filmed, whatever can be played safely will be what we end up watching. Because I mean, I've been a huge sports fan for years, and this is really weird for me because being at home and not having sports to watch is really strange. Because I've seen reruns of games and everything, watching online or whatever, but actually having live sports to talk about with friends every day, it's just really weird about everything's going. But as soon as any sports get back up, I'll watch whatever is available.
Yeah, I feel like as soon as something comes back, ratings will be through the roof. It doesn't matter what it is. I feel no matter what kind of fan you are, you're gonna watch it just because I think we're all missing, all of the sports fans in us are missing that aspect of the competition. And that's why golf, the match had, I think, the best views in PGA history. And just because everyone wanted, and it was 5 hours of just people, playing golf, and everyone was willing to go and sit there and watch. So it's gonna be really interesting to see how the NCAA combats this, as well as how we are forced to find different outlets to get through into sports.
Oh, for sure. I feel like with the revenue that has been lost in these past couple months, it will be gained pretty quickly because everybody is going to be watching. It's not going to be a given in our lives that, oh, yeah, there's basketball playing, but like basketball's every day. Now it's going to be like whenever whatever sport comes back, it's going to be incredibly like amazing, and everyone's going to want to watch it. So for sure that the upcoming seasons of football or whatever other sports in the fall season are going to come up, they're definitely going to tell us what is, they're going to definitely have increased ratings, no matter how boring it can be or how exciting it will be. But it's gonna be pretty cool, I think, because everyone is gonna come back and be able to talk about the sports they love to watch and everything.
Yeah. I think now with college athletes being allowed to profit out their likeness, if I'm a college athlete, I'm pushing for that to pass as quickly as possible, because you don't know if you'll be able to play this coming season. So the more money you can make off of like say YouTube, because YouTube's like our main outlet form. For me at least, I watch a lot of YouTube. I was probably bad. I probably should be doing school or something. But you know, I'm watching YouTube, and I feel like these athletes could use, if they could get this as quickly as they could use that to profit off themselves while they're not able to play right now in the NCAA. So I feel that's an interesting dynamic to look at as well.
Yeah, I think it's kind of weird how everything is like coinciding at this one time with the NCAA deciding players can make money and then the NCAA having to shut down all sports is
Yeah.
really kind of ironic that it's all happened. But I think athletes for sure want to take advantage of the fact that they can make money off of them playing now. It's been a long overdue rule that
Yeah.
needs to be in place, and now I think during this time it would definitely benefit players to be able to, not just off YouTube but off Instagram
Yeah.
or any other social media outlets, to be able to make some money, because at the end of the day they are working this hard to play their sports. They're making a name for themselves and their college. So yeah, I mean, they for sure want to get back up and running to take advantage of that.
Yeah, my one concern with the likeness thing is like, well, people playing college golf aren't going to get as much as like, a Trevor Lawrence playing college football. But now say there's no football and we're all watching golf. Could you imagine the amount of revenue that they would make off their likeness, like being able, everyone has to watch them. So if you're like really good now you're going to make a lot of money before you can even get there. I feel
I
that's
think that's
insane.
probably, yeah, that's definitely insane, thinking about if college golf is like one of the only sports playing that these athletes would be making like hundreds of thousands, like at least
Yeah,
thousands of dollars
exactly.
more than they would normally, and the, and they would be making more than any other football or
Hmm.
other like more popular sport athlete. That
Yeah.
think in that, like, I could never imagine someone telling me that a college golf player is making more money than the quarterback of a star football team.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. It'd be insane. Yeah, it's gonna be really interesting to see the health aspect as well, like what kind of precautions in football that they require to wear mask under the face mask, or basketball, what's the rule? Because you're not gonna get rid of contact in those sports, so how do you kind of address that is gonna be a real issue for getting everything back in play.
yeah, I mean, if you think about it, every sports, they're like with the Gatorade water bottles, they're always sharing the water. They're always they're sweating everywhere. They're
Yeah.
definitely, contact is not gonna go anywhere in any sport. Wearing like a mask under your football helmet would be incredibly difficult for the players to
Yeah.
be able to communicate, which is going to be a large factor in how colleges and teams have to proceed with like precautions and everything. I think quarantining obviously the players is going to be key to keeping everyone safe. But even if you lower the amount of people around the team, just minimum efforts to do games and have support staff and everything, there's still going to be a lot of contact with those people and then their families and then where the families go. So it's going to be a lot of
Hmm.
planning and processing and everything. It's going to be a trial and error thing, and
Yeah.
I think it won't be until a few months out, maybe a month or two after football season does start, if it does, that we'll really be able to figure out how to do it in the best way possible.
So it's interesting you bring that up. So say we get football back, and so we're into it, and then boom, there's an outbreak amongst like a couple teams. Do you, like, I just if you think about that, they're making the money, but now you've lost, I think, a whole much more, because you have the beginning of the season, and then you bring it in now running up to the playoffs, and these say like Clemson, right? Clemson's players get sick. You're losing so much money there. I feel like that's just a big risk that I don't know if the NCAA is willing to take at this point.
That is a huge risk, because if a star team like that is probably projected to make the playoffs again, if a couple of the players do get COVID, then I assume it would be better off for the team to completely like maybe drop out or like quarantine everybody and to test them all. I hope it wouldn't be another NBA situation where everybody shuts down. I really hope it wouldn't come down to that if the season is going halfway. But I know that for sure it would drop revenue and profits if a team like Clemson has to back out of playing in a national championship game or the semifinal if a couple of players get it. But I think it's a responsibility as like a student athlete and playing for such a high profile team that you have to make sure that you're doing what you can to make sure that you don't get virus, no one else on your team gets the virus, because it takes just one person for this to all spread again.
Yeah.
and they have to really be safe and caution.
Yeah. See, but my thing when you said not having the whole league shut down, I feel like it'd just be unfair if like Clemson, they're if they clearly are the best team, which I don't think they will be, but say they are, right, and they have to back out. I feel like it's just an unfair thing to crown a champion and not have Clemson in the mix, like just run without them. I don't know. I feel like I'd rather have a whole cancellation, as terrible that sounds, and just maybe have like exhibition games on the side rather than have a winner picked, but then that winner is going to have a huge asterisk on them just because a high profile team wasn't able to compete.
Yeah, I agree. That's where I guess the trial and error comes in to see what will happen, because a situation like that is for sure on the books of it could happen, and it's it's so unpredictable, everything, that there's so many what if scenarios that we can go on and on
Yeah.
about it all day. And it really comes down to just staying individually safe. It's taking that personal initiative to ensure that you're not coming in contact with people who could possibly have disease, or come in contact with a lot more people on a daily basis. So it really comes down to that, and it's really difficult because we've done it for so many months now. We have so many more at this rate that we're going to have to go, even though cities are opening up, states are opening up, but we've seen the spike in
Yeah.
cases as even more people are, allowed to go to restaurants and gyms and everything. It's gonna be an interesting ride for the next year and a half, I would say.
Yeah, it's interesting that you brought up the cities reopening. So now with cities reopening, people want to go to these games. So what do you think like the college stadiums will do to try to limit the spread or the spread of the disease in the stands in the crowd?
I think the smartest thing to do is just say no fans. And I know as a college, as a student who goes to, I guess, high school games now, but like in college in the future, I've been to a couple games. I know the feeling of watching your team play. It's something you look forward to. It's like a part of college life is going to a football game, basketball game. But I feel like it would be better off for everybody to just say no fans, because that's less contact. Even if you do like a 50% occupancy thing, that's still 50% of people in stadium still full. And if you're looking at a stadium like Cameron Indoor, that's relatively small and
Right.
seats are packed. Even if it's half people, you're still sitting like a foot away from the person next to you, even
Mhm.
if there's a seat in between you. So there's a lot that has to go into it. I think even though you'd be losing a lot of revenue from not having fans, if you want sports to go safely, it has to be nobody in the stands.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I feel like no fans is what you have to do. It's gonna feel weird, definitely gonna feel weird, but I think it, like you said, is the best way to stop the spread of the virus and keep everyone as safe as they could be. The big thing is gonna be the staff workers, because like now people who run like shops and concession stands in there's no point for them to go back into work, and so the more longer they have to stay out of work is probably worse for them. But there's always going to be these pros and cons to the situations, and like you said, a lot of what if scenarios can happen. So yeah, I feel like no fans is probably the best move. I'm interested to see if they like pump in noise like they did at the old Colt Stadium, or what that's going to feel like. But the atmosphere is going to be definitely different. I feel like no matter how much noise you pump in, you can't recreate the atmosphere of like a really close game within 30 seconds. You can't recreate that atmosphere, you know what I mean?
Yeah, there's no way you can, emulate that feeling of having a packed stadium in like a high profile game with everybody cheering for both sides. I mean, that's going to be something interesting. I guess they're going to have to pump noise. I mean, it's interesting about how just so many factors go into these games. There's so many little pieces, and I think we're seeing them more now than we did before,
Yeah.
about each little part of what goes into even making the game happen.
Yeah, the things we
From
took for
getting the
granted.
court ready, yeah, to practices, to all the players, staff, and then concessions, cleaning everything. There's just so many steps to it, and definitely we ignore it because we just think about the game, the times of the game, that's it from start to end, and then we ignore everything else.
Hmm.
So a lot of little details have to go right in order for everything to work out. And these little details, I mean, things like concessions, yeah, it's going to be a negative part of it. But I assume that as seasons go on, maybe fans will be allowed in at like lower occupancies, and it'll start to build
Yeah.
as time goes by, as split cases decrease. But also, I think that it would be wise for people for the colleges to like implement some sort of cleaning system before fans even enter.
Hmm.
You know, hand sanitizer. I don't know, some sort of way.
Right.
I'm not sure about the details, but there has to be something that goes on in order for even the fans that do come in, even if there's just a low number of them, that everyone is safe from each other and from themselves.
Yeah. I'm just scared that there's going to be so much financial pressure from the like high members of the NCAA when they see, or the high members of colleges when they see like ticket revenues are down. They're going to like try to push for a lot of people to come into the stadium at one time, which is going to be very scary. I think it's something that's happening right now with the whole situation that's going on. People are trying to rush the process back into it. I think if you can slowly integrate crowds into it, but we have to start with no fans and then kind of decide how to let fans back in, whether it's like just students or sectionize the students. Okay, from this letter group you go, from this you go, to whatnot. But yeah, I'm just afraid that a high member that's just thinking about the dollars is going to try to force these fans back into the stadiums and then cause a major outbreak, which will then force the season to stop, which would absolutely suck.
Yeah, I think there's two very like different ends of the spectrum. There's like one where everything goes great, and there's one where everything goes back to the way it was like a month ago, and it was absolutely terrible with everyone getting the virus. So I think it has to be done very carefully. Everything has to be thought of, and I do feel like a lot of states have been rushing into it, into getting everyone back. But I feel like rushing into it is just going to make it worse in the
Mhm.
future,
Yeah.
because then you've made some progress, but as soon as you rush into it, you've taken 5 steps back.
Yeah.
So it's definitely needed that that fans come in has to start with no fans, like you said, and it has to build a little bit in. And if it doesn't work out, then go back to no fans, because
Yeah.
it's better that you go back to no fans than perhaps one person gets corona in the stadium, everyone else gets it,
Right.
and then that could cause lawsuits. That could just lead to an even more financial burden in the future,
Exactly. Yeah.
rather than you making a little bit of money, even though it's not as much as you would usually make, but at least something is coming in.
Yeah. Yeah, TV ratings are going to go through the roof. I remember a couple years ago they were talking about like TV ratings are down for sporting events. They're never going to be down again. Not in our lifetime, I don't think so. For the next 10 years, for sure, I can guarantee that they won't be down.
Everyone has been watching sports
Yeah.
because this drought has just been awful, and no one is gonna take advantage of anything anymore.
Yeah.
They're not gonna be like, oh, I can watch the highlights later. Everyone is gonna want to watch these things live, especially if there's no fans.
Yeah.
Fans will then watch it on your TVs, and because there is less content, I guess, on TV, because there's no shows being made
Right.
or anything else. Sports are definitely going to be something that people look towards.
Mhm. Yeah, it's crazy because it feels like this would be a perfect time for sports to be on the rise just because, TV shows aren't there and no movies and everyone just itching for it, but then they can't have it. And sports would be the first industry back, so they'll be the ones to get the I can't think of the word, but the greatness of being like the first things
Mm-hmm.
back, get all the
They'll be in the
advantages.
limelight.
Yeah,
Yeah.
being the limelight. There we go. Thank you for that. Yeah. Yeah, they'll be in the limelight for just alone for about I guess 3 months before anything else will probably start up, and then that'll get all those shares and whatever. So it's gonna be really interesting. I think you have to think about the crowd, um, the players. I think that's the biggest thing. The players, because they have no cash flow coming in. What's the risk reward for a guy like Trevor Lawrence? Does he want to come back and risk getting uh, COVID-19 when he knows he's going to be a first round draft pick next year no matter what happens, right? So I think that's something that also takes in place for these star guys that know, hey, look, I'm going to go really high. I'm going to make a lot of money next year. Why would I come back and play for nothing?
Yeah, I agree that individual players have different stories, and I know some of them may have like diseases or like some sort of thing they've grown up with that may allow them to be more susceptible to the virus. And I feel like they would take a step back, and players like Trevor Lawrence, who are guaranteed a high spot in the draft, who've proven themselves already, they might also take a step back. So you might not be going into seasons with 100% teams, you might only be at 80% because certain players have decided not to play. And then you're looking at maybe smaller rosters. In terms of like football teams have
Hmm.
humongous rosters, they might cut down to maybe only 2 or 3 players per position rather than the
Yeah,
large
the
number like
the
that
like
they have.
150 that they bring.
Yeah. So I mean, it's just there's so much to go into it that it's so hard to predict what is going to happen. But especially if sports will be the first ones to go into it, everyone is going to follow their path.
Yeah.
Sports have to ensure that whatever they're doing it smartly because the entertainment industry, every workplaces in general, are going to look at what sports are doing and try to do the same thing in their like personal little buildings and whatnot. So there's a lot that there's a lot. That's
Yeah,
that's all I got.
there's a lot. There is a lot. I mean, yeah, and this might push the NCAA to do more financial aid to players because like players sit out say, why would I play during this like until we get like a vaccine or we know that we can deal with it. Players might be like, I'm not gonna play unless you give me something besides my likeness. Give me like a guaranteed check.
Yeah, I'd actually never really thought about that. You're right. Because obviously, if the Trevor Lawrence doesn't play, a team like Clemson would be losing fans and viewers.
Oh
And
well, their backup's pretty good, so I don't know how many fans are gonna lose. But yeah, no, no,
well,
keep going. I'm sorry, keep going.
no. I see your point, but in general, like when you maybe the chemistry, like there's just
Mhm.
100 things that can happen when you
Yeah.
lose. Like if a star quarterback like him doesn't play,
Hmm.
but yeah, I mean, you kind of like took it out of my mouth that, even if no matter how good like a backup everybody can be, there's a
Yeah.
lot. There's just like the factors of who's playing and who's not
Right,
comes
right.
down to viewers and everything.
Yeah. So that
Financially, yeah, definitely a team would want. So then there comes the fact that if the college wants to pay the players more to come and play, but then they're also not making any revenue off of sports
there
in
you go.
general. There's that factor of they don't have enough money, but they need the
Yeah.
money, but they need the players to
Yeah.
come so they can make the money.
100%.
Yeah.
But if the NCAA is broke, then I think we all are broke because they've been making billions and billions of dollars every year. But yeah, no, I see what you're saying. Because they're not bringing any revenue, it's hard to go out there and pay guys, and then finding a structure to how to pay guys that's like in a fair way. Because obviously you're gonna pay like, Trevor Lawrence more than you're gonna play like a fencing player. You know what I mean? Like it's just what it is. So yeah, but I just thought that was super interesting to see. If players especially college basketball. I feel like a lot of guys would jump straight to the G League and they're going to college just for the one and dones when they know, okay, look, I don't even have to play here. I can go and I'll still be, pretty high. Like say like Zion was in college right now. He'd be going probably number one overall. So he would probably be like, yeah, why would I play? So I think that you lose star value and then it kind of creates a domino effect that might just end up hurting the NCAA in both directions.
I think this domino effect was going to happen whether or not the virus had happened around this time. Just in general, more towards like basketball and the NBA with the G League program. But I do know that in general, this domino effect of players wanting to make money faster just because some of them come out of high school and they're incredible already. They don't need the college level for themselves. I definitely feel like programs like the G League, we're going to take players away from college, and I feel like it'll just do it. It'll just
Be quicker.
speed it up the process,
Yeah.
yes, of players willing to skip the whole process of college because even though the G League will probably go through similar circumstances with what NCAA is going to go with sports, it might be a little bit easier because you don't have the entire college around you. It's just the team, so there's
Right.
still less people involved.
Right. I wonder how that affects like high school players like RJ Hampton or LaMelo Ball going overseas. I feel like because I think a lot more players are looking at that option with a lot more intrigue because you get paid and you could just go there and then get drafted. Guys like LaMelo's gonna go top 5. RJ Hampton will probably be a lottery draft pick. So I also wonder if they are reconsidering their thought process of going overseas into areas that they don't know what the situation truly is over there.
Yeah, they would probably, I would say, prefer to stay in the States rather than go overseas right now. But I do feel like the overseas programs will and eventually be more popular for players to go to, like Lamelo did. I think that that step will be like stopped for now. Just
Mhm.
it's hard to get it's in it going in and out of the country is just more exposure.
Yeah.
There's more people to deal with going in planes and everything.
Yeah.
But I assume that they would take a step back and be like, I prefer not going overseas to play basketball.
Can you imagine no Duke UNC game this year?
I'm really hoping I get one.
Yeah, for
I
those of
would
you
that
who
would
don't know,
probably be
she's
the
a huge
biggest
Duke fan, so
huge Duke fan. I would be really disappointed if I can't watch Duke game because this could be my last year being a Duke fan. So
right.
I want to
Yeah,
live it
she's super
out to the
smart, so she'll be
fullest.
at Chapel Hill next year most likely. So
Okay. I don't know where I'll be going, but this will be my last year watching college sports, but not going to a college before I'll be committed for life to wherever university I go to.
yeah,
But that's probably the hard part. Just thinking about it now, you actually made me think about it.
yeah.
I really hope that everything works out, at least until that, at least basketball season happens.
That's what Anaya's hoping for, just basketball season. Football season, whatever. We can live without the $4 billion.
Football can be the guinea pig before basketball actually works
Well,
out.
that's what's gonna happen, right? I mean, football has to be the guinea pig. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man. Oh, it's already May, and I feel like time is just gonna come by so fast, and
Yeah.
so many things are gonna happen. I mean, things are changing day by day with, colleges announcing whether or not they're letting players come on campus to play and everything.
Yeah.
It's
Clemson
gonna
said
be
June 8th, I think. I said
yes,
this.
they did, yeah. And other teams have said in the next week or two that players can conduct voluntary workouts. But it's gonna be a day by day thing. But eventually, we won't really know what happens until the NCAA decides whether or not the football season will happen or any other fall sport will happen.
Right. Yeah. It's gonna be wild. We can sit here and talk about it all day long, but there's no way we would
Yeah.
ever know. I mean, we're not gonna know until it happens. And luckily for us, we don't have to decide those things because goodness gracious, could you imagine being in the position that has to be like, this is what we're doing?
I think no matter what, whoever has to make the decision, no matter what decision they do make, they're gonna get lost for it. They're gonna get hate for it. There's
Yeah.
gonna be two sides of it. But I feel like whoever is making the decision has to make sure they're doing what they can for the safety of the people. I
Yeah.
think that's the most important thing is thinking
Hmm.
about saving people rather than thinking about making money.
Yeah.
Money will come when the time comes, but if you don't have the people to play,
There you
there is
go.
no money that's going to get made.
Business advice from Anaya Patel. Save the people, the money will follow. That's great. I really appreciate having you coming on the podcast. First guest, so thank you so much. Yeah, I'm glad you came on. So
Thank
peace.
you for having me. It's been a great
Yeah.
time.
Awesome. Hey guys, it's Patel, and I realized I did not shoot in outro for the video you were just watching. So I'm just here to say thank you so much if you made it this far in the video for making it this far. I really do appreciate it. I'm an aspiring sports journalist. I love to do this, and I'm just glad that you guys are watching and supporting me while I'm doing this. A huge shout out to Anaya Patel. You can follow her on Instagram down below. It's in the description. She was great to talk to, and I'm really glad she's my first guest that I've ever had here. So I'm hoping to have more, but thank you, Anaya, so much for coming on and talking about sports with me. You can follow me on all my social media. My Instagram, Facebook, Twitter are all linked down in the description below. You can find full podcast episodes as well. They're also linked in the description below. You'll find them on Spotify, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, um, iHeartRadio even. So they're everywhere. So you can go check those out and listen to those to get full podcast episodes. I make podcast episodes every day. There's one a day from Monday to Friday. And these YouTube videos, we'll see kind of the scheduling with that. But right now, I'm just going to make them, whenever I probably have like an interview or something. But again, thank you so much. And until next time, I'm Aman Patel of Aman Patel Sports News. All sports, all news.